The moment she stepped through the door, she felt something was wrong, terribly wrong. A tension in the air thick enough to taste, a silence so sharp it could cut. Then she saw it. Her husband was standing in the living room with a pale, nervous-looking pregnant woman behind him, and he acted as if nothing was out of the ordinary, as if this scene, the betrayal, the audacity, the shamelessness was perfectly acceptable, but it was the words he spoke next that made her blood run cold. "You need to accept her," he said casually. As though he were asking his wife to accept a new piece of furniture, the world around her seemed to freeze. Her hands trembled, but not from weakness. This was the tremble before an eruption. She stared at them both, her mind racing through every sacrifice she'd ever made. Every time she stood beside him, every insult she had ignored for the sake of love and loyalty. He thought she would stay quiet. He thought she would break. He thought she would surrender. He had no idea who he was dealing with, what happened next would shake the entire mansion. Watch until the end. Wait a second. Let us know where you're watching from in the comments. And make sure to subscribe for more powerful and inspiring stories just like this one. Amara Williams had built her life with precision and purpose. A successful corporate strategist, she married her husband, Daniel Crawford, before he became a billionaire businessman. Back then, he was ambitious, hardworking, and grateful. She supported him through the rough years, late nights, failed pitches, broken deals. While he climbed the ladder of success, she became the quiet force behind his empire. But success changes people. And it had changed Daniel in ways Amara didn't want to admit. He started coming home late, hiding his phone, attending business dinners that sounded more like rehearsed excuses. Still, Amara trusted him, or maybe she trusted the version of him she remembered. As a black woman in elite social circles, she often felt invisible among the wealthy, polished faces around her. She was stared at, questioned, doubted, and judged. Yet she held her head high. She knew her worth. She knew how hard she had fought to stand where she did, but recently, subtle cracks had begun appearing in their marriage, a lingering perfume on his jacket, a whisper between staff members, a tension in Daniel's voice when she asked simple questions. She ignored it all, hoping it was stress, hoping it was temporary. Until today, she entered the house. Expecting normalcy, she found her husband standing with a pregnant woman, comfortable, confident, and shockingly unapologetic. His expression carried entitlement, as if he believed Amara had no right to react. And at that moment, her world didn't shatter, it sharpened. She realized this was no accident. This was a reveal. Humiliation he expected her to swallow. For a moment, Amara couldn't move. She observed them, Daniel with his forced calmness, and the pregnant woman who clutched her belly nervously, unsure where to look. It was a scene crafted without her consent. Set in a home she built with wealth she helped create. Daniel stepped closer, raising a hand as if he were the victim in this situation. "You're overreacting," he said without saying the words. His posture, his tone, his eyes, they spoke arrogance louder than anything else. The young woman tried offering a timid smile, a gesture that only deepened the sting. It wasn't her presence alone, it was the audacity behind it. She acted like someone who had been promised something. Someone who believed she belonged here. Someone Daniel had clearly reassured. Amara's heart thudded painfully against her ribs, not from heartbreak but from rage buried so deep it felt ancient. She had endured racial scrutiny, corporate sabotage, and systemic bias her entire life. But this insult delivered in her own home was the final wound. Daniel crossed his arms casually. "I thought today would be the right time," he said. "The right time? The right time to bring a pregnant mistress into their living room? As if he were introducing a business partner?" Amara's eyes hardened. The years flashed through her mind, the time his board questioned if she actually understood finance. The gala, where a donor assumed she was staff. The investors who praised Daniel for the ideas she had produced. Daniel benefited from her brilliance, her strength, and her resilience. Yet he had always expected her to step aside when it was convenient. And now he stood there, expecting her to welcome this woman into her life. To accept the betrayal. To accept the disrespect. To accept being replaced. The mistress shifted uncomfortably. She wasn't the villain, she was a symptom of Daniel's moral decay. But she carried a look Amara recognized too well, a look that said she believed she was better. More deserving, more fitting for Daniel's world. Amara took a slow step forward. Daniel misread it as submission. The mistress misread it as politeness. They had no idea what storm was about to unfold. This was no longer about infidelity. This was about erasure. About a man trying to rewrite her out of her own story, and she wasn't going to allow it. Amara stopped just inches away from them. Daniel's confidence flickered for the first time. The mistress swallowed hard, sensing a shift she couldn't explain. Amara's breathing slowed, her anger simmering into precision. She raised her hand, swift, sharp, and unhesitating, and the slap she delivered cracked through the entire house like thunder splitting the sky. The mistress gasped, stumbling backward, stunned, speechless. Not because of pain, but because she finally understood that Amara wasn't a woman who could be quietly replaced. Daniel stepped forward in outrage. But before he could utter a word, Amara turned and delivered a second slap, this one harder. Fueled by every year she had stood by him, every sacrifice she had made, every insult she had silently endured, Daniel staggered, shock paralyzing him. He stared at Amara as though seeing her strength for the first time. The woman he tried to erase now stood, taller than ever. Silence swept through the room. No one moved. No one breathed. Amara lowered her hand calmly, her face composed, not broken, not defeated, but resolute. She turned away from them both, picked up her handbag from the table, and walked toward the door with the regal confidence of a queen reclaiming her throne. She didn't shout. She didn't negotiate. She didn't look back. She walked out, taking with her the one thing neither of them could ever steal, her dignity. Amara drove away from the mansion without tears, without fear, without hesitation. She booked a suite in an upscale hotel, one she had frequented during business travel, and stood by the window as the sun dipped behind the skyline. For the first time in years, she breathed freely. Over the next few days, she contacted her legal team, gathered financial records, and quietly prepared for a storm of her own, one crafted with strategy, intelligence, and truth. She wasn't seeking revenge. She was reclaiming what was hers. When Daniel realized she wasn't coming back, panic replaced arrogance. Suddenly he remembered how vital she was, how her insight built his empire, how her discipline managed their finances, how her brilliance shaped his public image. But the world was already beginning to hear her story. Employees whispered the truth. She had been the backbone of his success. Investors spoke respectfully of her contributions. Media outlets questioned Daniel's actions, not just as a husband, but as a man who had built an empire on the work of a woman he believed replaceable. Amara didn't return to him. She didn't respond to his messages. She didn't attend his press conferences. She didn't need to. Her story had become a symbol, a reminder of the strength Black women carry, the sacrifices they make, and the dignity they refuse to surrender. As she began building her own empire, one without the weight of Daniel's shadow, she stood taller, stronger, unbroken, and the world watched, finally recognizing the power she always had. Tell me which country and city you're watching from. Your location helps our stories reach even more people. Comment your city and country below so I know where my amazing viewers are. Take care.